If you could please open up your Chumashim to page 385. If you could hold your finger at page 385 and then also open up to page 1300. We'll be flipping back and forth. How many people in this room saw the film Spider-Man: The Multiverse? This Into the Spider-Verse, this would have been a lot easier if everybody had seen the film. I should have assigned it as homework. It's a lot easier to talk about this idea in the day school than it is here in Chag, but I have to tell you that it's an important thing for us to understand. The Torah reading and the Haftarah reading come along today to explain to us as a people that when you sit down for your Passover Seder and you see the people sitting around your table, if that's all that you see, then you're not seeing the Seder correctly. If you can only speak with the people who are sitting at your table, then you're not enacting the Seder correctly. Because this morning, we're going to read in the Torah on page 385, Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Go pick out lambs for your families." That sounds very lovely. And then slaughter the Passover offering. Sounds a little bit less so. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in blood that's in a basin, and apply some of the blood in the basin to the lintel in between the two doorposts. And for us, that becomes the tradition that is the mezuzah. Very good. Thank you for paying attention, the three of you. So we begin by seeing what becomes the tradition of the very first Passover. This morning, the very first Passover. Then moments later, we turn approximately 100 pages later to page 1300. 1,000. I went to rabbinical school instead of engineering school because I wasn't so great at math. 1,000 pages. And we see that in chapter 5 of Joshua that we're about to read, as our Haftorah, Joshua says, it's going to be Passover again, guys. So what that means is that first, in preparation for Passover, they say, oh, you want us to go out and get the lambs? And then I have a little bit different of a request. We're going to go get little knives, all right? Sounds a little bit less fun than the lambs. And we're all going to circumcise ourselves in preparation for Passover. And on the night of the Seder, we're going to eat the lamb, and we're going to wake up the next morning, and there's not going to be any more man. There's no more manna for us. Because what Joshua explains to us as a people is if you can remember slavery, then you in fact are no longer slaves. It's time for you to grow up. We're walking into Israel as a people. We're going to mark this place, and we're going to have a Seder again. Did the Jewish people have a Seder in between Moses' first Seder and Joshua's second Seder? We don't know from the text. We don't know from the text. Was there a Seder from Joshua's Seder to Ezra and Nehemiah? We're not exactly sure from the text. These portraits of the Seders that create for us indelible, lasting images are profoundly impactful, and this morning we're going to visit them all. And the message that's conveyed to us is that when we sit at the Seder, here in the Valley in 2023, we're actually sitting with the Jews who sat in Egypt at their first Seder. We're sitting with the Jews who sat in Israel near Jericho for their first Seder. We're sitting with all the Jews throughout the diaspora, throughout all their journeys and their Seders. We're sitting with the Jews in Warsaw as the ghetto was liquidated, and some of them sat knowing death was imminent, and they asked the 4 questions. We're sitting with them. We're sitting with Jews last night who sat in bomb shelters in Israel. We're sitting with them because time and space for our tradition can be collapsed as we see fit. That's how it relates to Spider-Man. when Spider-Man can visit other Spider-Mans of other generations, and they all decide to work together for a common goal. The ultimate goal for Passover is that we begin by saying, this is the bread of affliction, and we only truly end Passover when I can reach through time and place to grab every single Jewish soul so they are redeemed with me. For if any of us leave any behind, whether they be at the first Seder, the second Seder, or any Seder afterward, we have not fulfilled the call of the Haggadah, that we are responsible for one another all throughout the world, and that's not even enough, all throughout time. The task of Passover begins with the smallest candle to do Badikat Chametz, to look in the crevices left over from the cleaning. And then we end Passover on the 8th day by taking that candle and bringing it into our heart and soul, and we stand at Yizkor and we say, in the crevices of our soul, there are people whom we cannot forget. And we walk all through Passover on the journey, beginning with the breadcrumbs, leading us all the way up to Yizkor. And if we've done Passover correctly, we end Passover holding on to all of those souls, some of whom we've loved in our lives, and some of whom we don't even know. But we walk out of Yizkor with a sense that we're not leaving anybody behind. The Torah reading can begin on page 385.